We're glad to see you investing a little bit of time to pray together and trust that that is a growing blessing in all of our marriages. So this week, because we got started a little bit late with the meal, what we're going to do is go straight into our presentation and be sure that you have plenty of time for discussion when we're done. So Carla has the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Carla Hardman.
Woo-hoo! Thank you. All right, you guys. Great to see everybody. We're so glad you're here with us one more time. We're super happy to be finishing up this semester. I hope it's been helpful to you. If you have been with us the last few semesters, or actually any semester, you know that we try at the very end, our last time together, to do something to kind of consolidate our learning, help us remember, help us commit to doing some of the things we've learned, take the things from, our heads here down into our heart, because we so easily leave all the things we know up here and don't actually live them out. So we are going to write a relationship vision today. So you all have, on the middle of your table, you have these handouts that are called Relationship Vision Exercise. And we are going to walk you through that. This is something that we did a few years ago. It actually comes from a book by Harville Hendrix called Getting the Love You Want, kind of an aging book. But you may or may not know that name, Harville Hendrix, but he and his wife Helen started the organization that most of Chuck Starnes' material comes from. So he's certified by that organization, and so that's just a little connection. Anyways, so I'm giving credit for this whole exercise to them. Graham and I did this a couple years ago, and actually did find it pretty helpful. We read it aloud maybe once a week for, I don't know, a few months. Off and on, kind of the way you do. But we did find that was very unifying, and it helped us to express some of the things we wanted. So Craig and Athena kind of queued this up by having us think about our hopes and dreams here. And we really do believe that the things we think, if you're in church today too, Tim talked about, our words, life and death is in the power of the tongue. And often we can kind of get stuck on some of our negative thoughts, even though we have positive thoughts too, but we're not really living into them. So this is an effort to help you do that. And we're going to start by kind of reviewing what we've done this semester. This will be super brief. We just did this a couple weeks ago. But
Can I do it?
Yeah.
So prayer. We talked about the accessing the infinite power and grace of God, that life really doesn't change unless we're connected with heaven. And prayer is one of the primary ways that God gives us to access His infinite power and His overwhelming love. We talked about the necessity of the Holy Spirit for unity and for forgiveness. Craig and Athena presented on the three chairs. What does it mean to become an advocate instead of a judge or an accuser in my relationship with my spouse and with everyone that I know? We had the communication skills from Chuck Starnes, the caring confrontation, and the power of a mutual purpose. And then last week, we looked at your last fight and how do we avoid falling into those styles that we've developed over the years of dealing with conflict that makes it turn into a fight? How do we keep our hearts focused on using conflict as this crazy opportunity to build unity? How do we do that? And so that was last week.
So, this is a quote from page 244. Hyun, can you go back one slide? From Harville Hendrix' book. He says, Because our relationship is very important to us, I added in there, and to God, we are making a commitment to increase our awareness of ourselves and to acquire and practice new relationship skills. So that is what we're trying to help you do today. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to come up with a series of statements that are expressed in positive terms as if they were already happening. So this can be anything from, we actually are already doing this. We do pray together 3 nights a week. Or we love to go out for dinner once a week. Or we, whatever it is that you're actually doing, from anything from we're doing this and I really like it and appreciate it, to, we don't really do this yet, but it would mean a lot to me if we did. And we're going to come up with a bunch of those statements. So in order to help you come up with some of those statements, I want to emphasize that there aren't right answers and there aren't wrong answers here. But we've given you a whole bunch of, consider these positive statements. Maybe these will, spark an idea for you. So on the second page of your relationship vision there, it says, consider some of the following. And so, all stated as if they're already happening, right? We have fun together. Maybe there's something that you really like to do together. Maybe you have fun together by going out to the movies once a week. Maybe you go for a run every day. Maybe you make time for your spouse to go for a run so that he or she, feels good. Maybe you are affirming, we are affirming of one another. We're affectionate with one another. What does that mean to you? I would just love it if my husband would come up and put his arm around the back of me when we're out walking, right? We're affectionate with each other by taking hands when we go walking. This can be anything that you want, or you can just leave it simple. We're affectionate with one another. We serve together at church or somewhere else. We advocate for one another, as Craig and Athena talked about. Is that just in prayer, or is it to our children, right? I regularly say positive things about my husband in front of my children, right? Whatever this is for you. We just want you to kind of remember some of the things that were in your mind way back when you got married, or maybe just a year or two ago when you got married, or whenever that was, that you had this dream of what this relationship would look like together.
One feature of this is this, some of the things that you agree on together as a vision statement might include specific activities like a date night or that kind of thing. But it might also be values that you have, is that we steward our money well for the glory of God. There's aren't specifics in that, but it's a reminder that money's a gift and we steward it for God. It might be that we practice forgiveness on a regular basis together. And so it's not like there's a once a week kind of thing, but it's what are the values that we live by, and how can we encourage one another in those values?
So we are going to start you out with table discussion and let you just talk about this for a while. Hopefully this will help you spark ideas. You can use that second page there to come up with ideas, but often when you hear other people talking about it, oh yeah, I love it when we do X, Y, Z, or it's really important to me that we, I'm not going to go through all the examples there, but there are many examples there. If you're the kind of person who gets overwhelmed, don't get overwhelmed, just write down 1 or 2, right? Or 3 or 4. If you want to start writing during this discussion time, you can just enjoy. I'm going to give you time to write individually first. But if you're here with your spouse, you're going to first write your own dreams. So sometimes there's a dynamic between a couple where one person talks more and the other person listens more. And so you both want to write down what are the things that I wish were happening or that I love that are happening, because you want to hear from each other. So on the back of that page, I will give you time for this. You don't have to start this, but if you start writing, please, when you start writing, you're going to write on the page that says my relationship vision, not the back page that says ours. You're going to do that together later. Okay? So my relationship vision is just going to be, you're going to talk about it now, but what are some of the things that you love or wish or would love to have happen in your relationship? And just this is just to kind of get your ideas flowing and make you feel less worried, like, oh my goodness, I've got to come up with the right answers now. Okay?
So let's take 10 minutes just to talk. And in 10 minutes, we'll come back and encourage you to spend some time just writing down your own thoughts. So 10 minutes for table discussion on this topic. Good.
That makes sense?
Very good. Very good.
Okay, so hopefully that's a little helpful to you. You have your ideas going. You can finish up whatever your discussion is at the table, but then you are going to individually, not talking as a spouse, as spouses right now, turn to that page that says My Relationship Vision. Don't worry about putting them in order or the most important thing at the top. Just anything that comes to mind. The things that you would prioritize, or, you know, if you were just dreaming, what are the things you would wish were regularly in your relationship or that you're happy are already in your relationship? And so that is on this page. Anyways, I don't know where it is, but My Relationship Vision. You can use, right, there's a bunch of quotes you could use, or you've come up with ideas at your table. We're going to give you 10 minutes to just write some of those things. All in positive, right? As if they're already happening. We value each other, right? Or whatever. All right, a lot of you are still busily writing. Some of you look like you're staring off into space now. So you can finish up if you're still writing. Great. Our step 3 there is to take time now as a couple to share your written lists. And if you want to take a few more minutes to finish writing, go ahead. I just want to say here that when you're sharing your written lists, you are only listening or encouraging. You're not correcting anybody's dreams. So let's see, one spouse says, I wish we could go on a European vacation. And your response is, I hate travel. I hate airplanes. I'm so scared of that. No, we're never going to Europe, right? You do not get to say that. You only get to listen. Or maybe you ask questions and find out. Stay curious. Oh, really? You'd love to go to Europe? Tell me more about that. What would you love about that? You're getting to know each other. You don't have to agree, but you may not disagree, right? Never say, oh, we're never doing that. Okay? So I think you all know that, but it kind of is worth saying because sometimes we say things we don't mean when we freeze up. So take about 10, or actually, you know, also, I think it might be the next step too, but if your spouse says something, you're like, oh yeah, that's important to me too. I didn't write that down. Then just, you know, add it to your list. You are trying to build a joint list that you both agree on. Or if you have something that's different, I wish we could go on a European vacation. Well, I wish we would go on bigger vacations, but can we talk about other options? Right? And hopefully you'll learn something new about each other and also build unity on the things you would love to see happen in your relationship. So finish writing and then spend some time with your spouse talking about it. Yeah. Okay, as you continue to share, this is really great. I can see you're deep in conversation, so I hate to interrupt you. I'm going to kind of move you on. You can continue that conversation, but steps 4, 5, and 6 are up there. And so if you haven't yet combined your lists, anything your spouse said that you were like, oh, yeah, good idea. Like, I agree with that. I'm on board about that. Write it down on your list. When you feel pretty good about your 2 lists, you think you've covered most of the areas you want to, and you feel pretty aligned, go back to your own list and kind of rank them in order. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but things that are super important to you, put 1s on, right? These are things I really would want to make sure we prioritize. And a 5 would be, this would be great, but if this doesn't happen, I won't be that upset, right? And 3, 2, 4 in between there. So you're going to rank them, and then step 5 and 6 are kind of optional. But if you're the kind of person who put down 15 1s and then 2 5s, go ahead and circle the ones that are most important to you. So you kind of, we want to put to the top of the list. When we make our joint list, you want at the top the things that are important to both of you. You both put them 1s or 2s. So as you read it together, you both feel heard, like your important stuff is being said right away. So I'm going to give you another 5 or 10 minutes to finish that before we put them together into a joint list. Okay? All right, when you have your rankings done and you're feeling pretty good about your lists, now you're going to go to the back page and you're going to combine your lists into a joint relationship vision. So toward the top, you're going to look at your rankings, the things that are like 1s for both of you, you're going to put toward the top. And things that one of you has a 5 and one of you has a 3, it's going to kind of fall down toward the bottom. So that as you read these over, the most important things in your minds are at the top. And if you have something you really don't agree on, if one of you has it down, but even though you've talked about it, the other person, it's not their thing, don't put it on right now, because you don't want this to be upsetting or triggering when you read it. You want it to feel really affirming and supportive when you read this over in the future. So, all right, take another 10 or 15 minutes to work together, probably 10. We're kind of running out of time. And put together your joint list. You have 2. Each of you has 1 in the back. You can do it together on 1, or you don't have to both do this. All right, you guys, I hope this is helpful for you. Hopefully you have a really good start, even if you don't feel like you're quite finished. We're not going to take extra time at the table. As step 8 says here, this is also on your paper because we're going to run out of time. But I just wanted to say, remember, this is not supposed to be perfect, right? We're all a work in process. And but I do want to strongly encourage you to set aside some time and just read it over together once a week through the holidays, right? Whenever you get up and you have coffee together in the morning, maybe on Saturday mornings you read it, or on, before you go to bed once or twice or 3 times a week. I think it really will keep in your mind the things that you're committed to and will help you keep that, speak life into your marriage and into your spouse. And you can continue to work on it. And if you change your mind, you're like, oh, hey, we didn't add anything about, our children. I want to add that. There's nothing says you can't continue this process in the future. So Graham is going to talk about survey.
Yes. So Craig and Athena, can you come up? They're going to just introduce the survey. Most of the tables have one. If your table doesn't have a stack of surveys, could you raise your hand? I think that we didn't get one here. There you go. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. All right. Corey Keith is happy to come up and talk about that book for a minute if you want.
All right. Every year we do this, every semester we do this survey, and we get some tremendous insights as to how it's meant, what it's meant to you guys. It's a tremendous encouragement to the leadership team, the inputs that you put on, and it gives us a real sense as to, collectively how the Spirit is guiding us forward. So in this next semester, as Graham mentioned, we're talking about having a theme on repentance, kind of just a general topic, how to make those changes we need to make in our marriages, in our relationships. Closer?
Yeah, you're
Or
not
should I get
allowed.
that one? Okay. On your table, you have a survey here. If you could, I had to run out and make copies during the class here and run home and print them. Anyways, I didn't get a chance to staple the 2 pages together, so if you could just make sure that you put your name on both pages or fold them together somehow so they don't get separated. And there is just the first page is just kind of your feedback on this semester, and the second page is kind of looking forward to next time we come together, some topics. We put a list of 6 different topics on there for you to give us your feedback on. I'll share about 2 of them. And
yeah, so if you look at in the center of your table, I think you guys already passed them out. The second page, which is the survey page, those are the topics that Craig's going to touch on. So if you want to make a notation of like, oh, okay, and now I understand what this joy-filled habits are or whatever.
Okay.
Now you'll know a little bit more about what those topics are in case you're curious.
There's a copy of the first page up here. And if you go to the second one there, again. Okay, there's 6 different things that we'd like to get your feedback on. First one, how to have a true apology. Why some apologies work and others don't. We know how sometimes we just give a quick sorry, and that makes it very hard for the other person to extend forgiveness. So this is about, what are some of the components, 4 key components of an apology, and how to lower that threshold and make it easy for that other person to forgive by covering things like, this is what I did wrong. This was the motive, the pattern that was with it. This is I'm recognizing how it hurt you, and this is what I'm going to do differently in the future. So there's some principles, some things we need to cover on, to have a good, true apology that really sticks. Okay, Envy?
Oh, so the talk on envy is a sequel to the 3 chairs, and it's a talk that unfolds or reveals or unveils the work of envy in relationship that's very covert, and often we don't recognize it for sometimes years and years, and it looks like a lot of things but envy. So we talk about what's a comparison, jealousy, envy, and how this works in relationships. So it takes 3 chairs to kind of a new level. So that's what that one's about. What's the next one?
Courageous conversation.
And then courageous conversation. Some of you have done this before. It's 10 questions that we have you learn to resolve a conflict, work through a pressing issue where you have a speaker and a listener and you have rules of engagement, and goes through the emotions and goes into the depth of what the pressing issue is all the way to praying and action items. So it's a very powerful tool, and that's something I think we taught about a year and a half ago.
Graham, did you want to talk about the
Joy-filled?
4 habits?
Okay.
Okay.
You're not happy.
We'll let Lori Kate.
Carla, can you say something? Because they need to know what this is.
Okay.
So the 4 habits of joy-filled marriages. Actually, you guys, at the end of last spring, this was your #1 pick. So we probably will be doing this in the spring. But just to let you know, unless we get really negative feedback now, it's by Chris Corsi and Marcus Warner, if you know either of those names. And it's a bunch of kind of brain science on what leads us to joy, and how to get back to joy, and how we run on joy, and then habits to build into your marriage with some a bunch of examples of ways to do this. And so this is one option. 4 Habits of Joy-Filled Marriages, and Laura Kate's going to say a bit about Chip Ingram.
Hi, this is Overcoming Emotions That Destroy. So if you've been at Venture a long time, you may have heard Chip teach this series. I've done this series in small group. I think I'm on my 6th time through. So I keep learning from it. He goes through that there are 3, and it's written with a psychologist, I believe. He goes through 3 major types of anger. Spewers, that's who I am. That as soon as something happens, you're angry and you know it. Then there are stuffers and there are leakers. Leakers are best characterized by sarcasm. So if something happens and there's that quip, that's a leaker. For those who don't think they have an anger problem, you would be the stuffers, because you just take the anger and you don't do it and maybe later explode. So he goes through those details of it. Then what happens is he has really practical tools to understand, what do you do when you get angry? What is righteous anger? How can you make changes in our life? And so Cody and I will testify that we both did this series, and it has changed our marriage, because we have 2 different profiles, but now we're learning how not to react to the other one, because a conflict turns into a fight when the second one engages. So sometimes he's a leaker. He'll leak and I'll hear it and I just don't engage. When I spew, he says, I'm not going to discuss this with you right now, which I don't like at the time, but it's the best thing for our marriage.
Does that sound good?
Does sound good. Okay. And then the last one on the list is connecting conversations. This is one of the Relate 2020 tools that we teach, about 9 levels of intimacy in conversation. We all want to go deeper in our relationships, and how we get there is by having deeper conversations. And there's specific levels where you go from greetings to facts to hopes and emotions, on all the way down to deep, true needs and prayer and things like that. 9 levels of intimacy in conversation, and how to maneuver through those 9 levels. And there was a young man that visited us from out of the area. Name was Paul. He had gotten stuck with his relationship with his dad, and he just could not, break through. And so I used this tool to help him identify where they were stuck. They were stuck at the feelings level. They could go down through opinions, but they couldn't get into feelings. So he knew what he had to work on when he went home to work on with his dad. And so I gave him some coaching on that, and it was a tremendous breakthrough in his relationship with his dad. He talked to me about it later, how it transformed their relationship. So that's the kind of the thing we'll analyze and figure out, where we get stuck. And this is, of course, applicable to all our relationships, not just marriage. So, okay, that's the 6 topics. Just rate them 1 to 4, 1 being the highest, not the lowest. And, and if you have another topic that you'd like us to cover that we didn't mention here, please fill it in, and we'll do what we can. So we want to give you the rest of the time to fill out the survey. Again, thank you very much for the feedback, the valuable feedback. It really does help us out as a leadership team.
And also where it says, to share a testimony or an aha, we really value when you take the time to write something, because we put out our heart and soul, the team here, all semester long. So when you write down, it was a great teaching, then, what about it? How did it impact you personally? Maybe share a story. Even if you take a few minutes after 2:30, we so appreciate if you would be willing to do that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.